Our yard.
Hey, readers and writers.
Welcome to episode 109 of Read and Write, where we're going to talk about
ideas outside of our comfort zone.
In case we haven't met before, I'm Deb.
And I'm Jocelyn, and this is our podcast about what we're reading,
what we're writing,
and everything in between.
Yeah. Okay, so what you been doing this week, Jocelyn? Other than making chocolate chip cookies.
Actually, oh my God, this is so funny, Deb. So I mean, for those who don't know, we talked about chocolate chip cookies our last episode, and there will be a thing. But
yes, my husband has now volunteered to taste test.
I just find myself when I go grocery shopping being like, oh, and I better grab a bag of chocolate morsels in case I want to make cookies. Well, I did that the other day and I threw it into the kind of the pantry area where I would keep such things. Yeah. I have 4 bags, unopened bags of chocolate morsels.
Oh my God, I do the same thing. I have this specific brand that I like. And I'm like, oh, I should get some of those. I might want to make cookies. And then I go to put them away. And I've already got 3 of them.
I know. I don't need more. But for some reason in my head, I'm like, better grab some of these just in case.
Right. Because clearly the little chocolate monster has been eating. Which in my case, I actually do have a chocolate monster. He's 4. But yeah. So, but yeah. I do the exact same thing. I end up having 6 bags. And then I'm like, well, I better make chocolate chip cookies now. God.
Exactly. Yeah. It's been too hot for me to want to make them or eat them. I really don't even feel like eating chocolate chip cookies, but I'm like, I better make a fucking batch of cookies.
I don't really have that problem. I make a giant batch and then freeze the little mounds of dough. And then I just snatch one of the mounds of dough out of the freezer and eat it.
Oh, yes. Ooh, yum. Oh, that sounds so good. Oh, and that's cold, so it's like a popsicle. Oh, that's perfect
and then you get that
right
chunk
now.
Of chocolate that almost breaks your tooth, but it's delicious.
I love it when it snaps my tooth in half. Yes. So satisfying. Oh, well, yes. Other than cookie life, I have I've been trying to just make my yard seem semi-presentable because we're gonna have folks over for a barbecue soon, and
it's always
my
a
husband,
chore.
Yeah, oh my God, and it's giving me nightmares. My husband and I bought this house in October, and it's the first time we have been fully in charge of yard space that wasn't like our parents'. It's not a big yard, but it is a tricky yard. It's like a problem child. It's just a pain. It's uneven. It has very strange roots popping up all over the place that don't make sense. So, you could twist an ankle pretty easily. There is a fence that is falling over at the back. I don't actually think it's our fence. I think it's the folks who own the property that abuts our property. Uh-huh. It's their fence, but there's all of this Virginia creeper that's basically ripping the fence down. And I'm just waiting for a good storm to blow the whole thing over. Actually, I think the vine is what is stabilizing it at this point.
The vine is holding the fence together.
Yeah, but it looks awful, and the creeper is creeping, and so I'm out there every week just trying to battle the vine. And then it's stressing me out so much. And then our other neighbors, the one property nobody lives in, so that's the yard's just a mess. The other property is a rental and the landlord doesn't do anything about it, so that's also just a mess. Yeah, so until we can afford nice new wood fencing, so right now it's just chain link and then that random wood one that's not ours, that's falling over, until we can afford new fencing, which is, the price of wood is awful right now, so it won't be until next summer. I have to try and figure out a way to just make our section of the yard pretty enough that it like distracts our guests from the hellscapes that surround it. And so I ordered all of these like planters and like shepherd's hooks and little like plant stands, and I got these string lights, and I'm gonna try to like make my yard feel comfortable for guests. So we'll see how that works out. I haven't even started it yet though, because I got all the stuff, like the stuff was all delivered, but it's just been so ungodly hot. So I just haven't been able to get outside, and we'll see if I actually accomplish this goal, because our barbecue is supposed to be this weekend and I only have like a couple days to do all of this. Yeah. So it might not happen, but you know, best laid plans.
You always have the best intentions when it comes to yard work. Like we always start out the year strong. Like I'm out there and I'm getting out the weeds, and then I can't, our yard is big enough and we have a big enough mulched area. I can't do it all in one weekend. Yeah. And then the next weekend something happens and I can't get out there. And at this point, it's been like 6 weeks since I started weeding. The weeds have gone over the part I already weeded. So it's just like, I hate weeding. And then when am I going to have time to do this?
Oh my God, I know.
Because yes, it has been ungodly hot, and I just cannot bear the thought of going out there and weeding.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, honestly, like it looks horrible, but I just am just like, it's a black hole for me. I need to be a very rich person to have someone come and do the weeding for them.
Seriously. Well, I think because of the way our yard is, and because we have one of those small, slim, urban properties, you know, it's long and narrow.
Yeah, you don't have the acre we do.
No, yeah, it's should in theory be very manageable, but there are all those like there's so many weird little quirks about it. Yeah, and then there's just oh God, I hate thinking about it. But I'm gonna rip all our grass up and put pebbles down, because there's just like no point in having this grass. And if I rip it up, then I can level out our yard and like take care of those weird things that make it difficult to walk or play in. And then I can also put in like my flower beds and my vegetable garden beds like as I want. And then because there's really not, you know, a whole lot of space in my mind, there's really no reason to have like a 2 by 2 foot patch of grass like
that you then have to store a lawnmower for.
Yeah, and like right now our neighbor mows our lawn for us, and we like throw him $10 a cut, which is great. But I mean there's no reason to like have to upkeep this. Like we don't really care about having the grass. The only reason is like, oh, maybe nature likes the grass. Like we do have a lot of like birds, we have little bunnies, things like that. But I do intend to plant plenty of like pollinating flowers and different flowers and plants that like the birds would like, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm just gonna rip that grass up. I'm done. I'm over it.
I wish I could just magically rip all the weeds out of my yard. Just really out of the mulched areas. Like I don't care about the yard, but we had the brilliant idea of mulching like the tree portions under all the trees to like so we didn't have to mow around it and it didn't get weird. But then there's just dandelions everywhere and thistles. I mean, have you ever tried to weed out thistles? Oh
yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
Get your heavy duty gloves.
Seriously. Yeah, we have like these like grandpa overalls and stuff, and just I hate doing it. I am not that person. I just hate doing it. Absolutely. And my husband also hates doing it. So our yard just looks a mess.
I actually like doing yard work and gardening, but like you kind of like alluded to it before, the having to like coordinate with my neighbors on their stuff, like what's going, because their lack of attention to their own properties is destroying my property. It's leaking onto my property. So I have to like do yet another group project where I like talk to 3 separate people, plus actually all of those properties are rentals. So I have to talk to the landlords and the folks who live there as well. So it's just, so that to me, and I can't actually get to the part that I like, which is putting in the beds and like actually gardening until I can put up a new fence and actually do the landscaping. So I'm just caught in this like purgatory of like garden hell. And I hopefully by next summer I'll have progress done on it, but I don't know I don't know what's possible. We'll see. Anyway, what have you been up to that's not like a low-key existential dread of like biological terror infringing on your space?
Well, mine is it's really unexciting, but it's driving me nuts. I need a new sauce/frying pan.
Ooh, intriguing.
Well,
what happened? Did you kill someone with the old one?
No, we got the old set before we were married. Like when we had moved in together, we bought pots and pans because
they're pretty old.
Yeah, he didn't have any, and mine were crap. So we decided, hey, let's just get some new ones.
Sure,
we were like engaged, so it was a good idea. Yeah, and so they're pretty old, and we at the time we chose nonstick, thinking it was a great idea. It wasn't really a great idea. Like 10 years later.
Yeah. I'm dealing with some of that myself right now.
So I've got 2 sauce/fry pans that are pretty awful right now. And I want to replace them, but I don't want nonstick anymore. I'm sorry. It's just I'm spending more time finding a pan than I did picking out a car.
Oh my God, yes. There's so many options.
I keep going back and forth. Like I want an environmentally sound choice. Like I don't want nonstick again because you can't recycle it. It's basically garbage. It just feels like a waste.
Yeah.
So then it's like, then I've got stainless steel, I have ceramic, I have cast iron, I have enameled. I'm sorry. I've spent a week just going back and forth. And my husband's just like, pick one. We need a new one. Just buy a new one. And I'm like, but I don't know which one I want.
Just waltz into Williams-Sonoma and be like, give me a pan.
So I don't know. I haven't been able to figure it out. And it sounds like such a dumb thing, but I can't. I know I like this one pan, but it's got ceramic coating on it. And ceramic coating, I know, can chip. And I want to buy a pan and have a pan for 25 damn years. Is that so hard to ask?
Especially because sometimes you can spend a lot of money on these pans.
I was looking at some of the enameled ones because the enameled is kind of what I'm leaning towards. I like the idea of cast iron. I like the fact it's basically enameled with tempered glass that will never break or chip. But if you get one from the really expensive, fancy companies, that's like $200, $300 investment. Yeah. For like a 10-inch pan. Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous.
So I want to get one of those, but I don't want to get the $300 version of it. But it's just, I'm sorry. It's what's dominating my YouTube searches right now.
And I completely understand getting consumed by just, you want to find the perfect thing, the perfect fit, like the perfect value and the perfect service to what you need it for.
I mean, my grandma had pans that they bought for her wedding and she had them when she died.
I know, right? They just literally.
Can I have those pans, please? Can someone just give them to me? One of my aunts or uncles, whoever took them.
I know, right?
Are they still in the house?
Perfectly seasoned. Yeah. Yeah, they truly don't make things the way they used to. And like every time I put together a new piece of furniture, I'm always like, well, this is going to break in 5 years. And then I look over at like the desk that I have that was like my aunt's when she was a child, and it's still in wonderful condition and very stable. And I'm like, why can't everything be like this now? Oh, it's so frustrating.
I definitely feel you about that on furniture. I've got too much throwaway furniture in my house.
Yeah.
We have a couple of really good pieces. Like our dining room table is going to last us till we die. Our kids are going to inherit that table.
That's wonderful.
Yes. But I feel the same way about clothes too.
Yes.
Like
fast fashion is so bad.
This is going to sound dumb, and I bet a lot of people will be upset, possibly be upset about this, but my oldest is going into kindergarten this year in September. And all I can think about is like the mom pressure about showing up every day and like what you wear and how people judge you on that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I've been looking like I'm a planner, and I basically have figured out like what I want to wear, like white t-shirt, jeans, and shoes. But I want to get like kind of expensive versions of them, assuming that they're going to be better quality and they will last me longer.
Sure. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Like, can I buy the $100 pairs of shoes knowing that they're made from recycled things, which is important to me, but I can also wash them. Like I want a pair of Rothy's that you can throw in the washer.
Yes.
And reuse.
Yes.
It's like, can I justify that? I think I can.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
assuming
those in particular.
Hopefully, like I don't know. I'm under the assumption that the more expensive item will actually get me more value because I will have it longer than buying X number of cheaper pairs that would be more expensive, possibly in the long run. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think in general that is true. Yes.
Like a pair of Levi's better than a pair of Old Navy jeans.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But it is also important just to do a little bit of research just to make sure, because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like a scam.
Right.
But I do think, like, you think about it in terms of an investment. Yeah. And like, things are generally more expensive because of the quality of material and the craftsmanship that have been put into them. So you would assume that they would hold up longer.
You would assume so, yes. Does that mean I should get the $300 pan? I can't imagine spending $300 on a 10-inch pan, but you know what?
God, I know.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, yes. So that is the dilemma of my life right now.
I'm voting yes on getting the pan, Deb.
Well, I'm not buying the $300 pan. I know that much. Well. But I do think I'm going to go with the enameled cast iron because I think it will be a better investment.
Go for it.
Okay. There we go. So that's my life this week.
Yeah. I'm glad everybody got to like hear about our domestic searches and travails and
I know that was basically such a negative opening. Like,
I know. Sorry,
my
folks.
Life sucks because my yard sucks and I hate my cookware.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a little relatable, but also I hope folks don't have to deal with the same kind of drudgery of frustration. But,
maybe it's fun to hear about other people's drudgery.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe they're thinking, I don't have to go through the kindergarten mom guilt.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Take some solace, those of you without kindergartners. Like myself. Like, whew, at least I don't have to do that.
Man, the judgment, the mom judgment is real. Yeah. I know that from preschool. That is real.
I'm watching my best friend who, her first kid just turned 1, and just like seeing it. I mean, she's surviving it pretty decently, but hearing about, what goes on in different like Facebook groups and comments that are made to her or that she hears from other people, it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because it should be a group of people. And I do think it is, people supporting each other through this journey and like helping each other out. But then there is such a toxic line in there that will rear its head every once in a while.
Yeah. That's actually the reason I ended up quitting social media.
Oh, wow.
I have another mom in my life. Our kids are close in age, and she gave me so much backhanded grief about like the applesauce I was serving my kids and what I gave them for breakfast. And then she turns around and posts on Facebook about how you should give moms a break. They're just trying their hardest. And I was like, you know what? F you. And I just stepped away. I was like, no, I just can't do this. Like, I didn't tell anybody. I just stopped posting. I just stopped checking. It was just like, that was just like my moment. Like, that was it. I was done.
Yes. Breaking point. Good for you.
It was so much passive aggressive crap about how I was dealing with my kids. And oh my God, thunder. I can't escape the thunderstorms.
You're living in a vortex.
I really am.
I don't understand. It truly is just
the thing is,
constant storms.
We go days and days. Like the weather keeps saying, chance of thunderstorm, and nothing happens. And then I get on to record the podcast with Jocelyn. And that's when the thunderstorm happens. Like seriously.
I love it.
It's been 4 days of basically the forecast promising thunderstorms and nothing happened until tonight.
Of course. Well, I'm glad I, helped the process along,
It is summertime, but And summertime in New York means thunderstorms, but still.
Yeah, something I love.
Jesus,
I love
the timing.
New York thunderstorms. I know, yeah, how perfect. All right. Well, shall we dive into our topic?
Yeah, ideas we've had outside our comfort zone.
Yeah, ideas outside of our comfort zone.
Okay, first of all, let's establish what our comfort zones are.
Yes.
My comfort zones are science fiction and fantasy.
And thunderstorms.
Like the little punctuation at the end. Thank you, nature.
I know. Mine are horror and comedy. And I'm trying to think, it's been a while since I have written in some of the other genres that I actually like to write in. So allow me to take a moment to cast my mind back.
It's okay. I'm just rumbling over here. So that's okay. I'm just rumbling over here.
Oh yeah, just vibrating with the,
Yeah, my little recording bar
of the gods.
My microphone here, like when I'm supposed to be silent, it's just like the line is just like.
Oh jeez. It's like you're actually having an earthquake. That's hilarious. Yeah, I do like fantasy. I have written in fantasy in past. And I've also dabbled in romance, and I think I actually wouldn't mind playing around with romance again because I did really enjoy it.
Wow, you've got a lot more comfort zones than I do.
Yeah, I like to dabble. One that I haven't written in, but I do want to, and I don't know if it's a comfort zone yet or not, is actually science fiction. Okay. So I'm going to give that a try eventually, and we'll see if it becomes a comfort zone. Or not.
I define my comfort zones as what I like to read and then what I like to write. Like they very much align. Like, yes, I like to read comedy and I like to read horror, but I'm mainly, I don't know, I'm simple. I mainly gravitate towards those two. And what's annoying is Amazon combines them into one genre. That kind of pisses me off. I'm like, no, those are definitely not the same.
Yeah. There actually did a whole presentation in grad school about the fantasy genre and how it started, and then all of the branch offs in science fiction fantasy, and how for the longest time they were just the same thing. And in a lot of catalogs, they're still marked the same, like a lot of library catalogs, not like catalogs you flip through like Land's End. And classification systems. I was like, what are these
catalogs I'm missing?
LL Bean. Yeah, no, it's when I was doing research for that project, actually, I did get derailed because I was looking for something very specific in one genre and it was listed under the other one. And I couldn't find it was a hilarious instance of the thing that I was trying to report on screwing me up. It was very funny. But yeah, there is an interesting history with that. But it's frustrating. So what are your non-comfort? What's outside of your comfort zone?
I don't know, then? Everything else.
Everything else. Is there anything in particular that really freaks you out?
Well, probably the biggest one would be mystery. That is, I do like to read, and I'm a voracious reader, and I will read in other areas, but mystery I avoid. I don't enjoy it, so I don't necessarily read it. I don't mind if my fantasy book has a mystery element to it, but just the genre mystery where it's just a mystery, I don't know. I don't enjoy it. I avoid it. And what really sucks is I had a great idea for a mystery.
Oh, what was your idea? Do tell. Well, you don't have to.
No, I don't mind. I'm never going to write the damn thing. I just have an idea. It got to the point where I tried to do it for NaNoWriMo one year, but I don't read it. So I actually tried to recruit my mother, who reads mystery, into helping me, and that was a disaster. But I had this idea. Actually, my main character was a librarian.
Yay!
Which this was way before I even met you. But anyways, the main character was
reaching
a librarian.
Out to you from the future.
Was a librarian. And it was going to be in first person, and she starts talking about this other woman. She says that her name was Ellen. And she always thought that was suited her because it was a white trash version of Helen of Sparta with red chapped lips and bruised knees, the one that everybody wanted and nobody wanted to keep. That was my opening.
That's a good line.
Yeah. The main character was very bitter.
Yes, I can feel it.
This other girl, they knew each other. Like, they had a history. They knew each other in school, like in high school and stuff. And like, they were sort of friends, but the other one, I don't know. Maybe she stole her boyfriend or something. I don't know. But the idea was that she didn't really like this other woman, but this other woman is the one who ended up dead, naked in the park. And this other woman's daughter comes to the main character and is like, you have to help me figure out who killed my mom.
Weird. That's really intriguing.
Yeah.
But no
I just couldn't do it. Like, I tried.
Yeah.
And
mystery is
I didn't
hard.
have the tone. I didn't have the vibe. And since I didn't read it and since I couldn't write it, I had this really good idea and I couldn't follow up on it just because it was outside my comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mystery is challenging because you do have to plan. Well, at least my impression is that you have to plan it pretty tightly in order for the mystery to be satisfying, to have a satisfying conclusion. And mystery is also outside of my comfort zone for that reason. But I also think that's kind of one of the reasons why I enjoy writing horror, because horror does also a lot of the times employ a lot of the same tactics as mystery. Okay. So, but then it doesn't need to follow the exact same formula. So I can explain away a lot of the things without really being like smart about it. Like I can set up a mystery and then I can basically do like a Deus Ex Machina and have it be like a ghost or, whatever. It can be something ridiculous. But as you were describing that idea, my mind kind of went to books like Death in Her Hands. I was thinking of books kind of like Ottessa Moshfegh's books, like Eileen, or this isn't Ottessa, but Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk, I think is how you say your last name. She's Polish. She actually just won like the Nobel Prize in Literature, I think. Well, but those are... Oh, yeah. And I love that book. Like, Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead is one of my favorite books of all time. And I really like Ottessa Moshfegh's work as well. But they write, both Eileen and Drive Your Plow are kind of mysteries, but not really. Like, the focus is more on the character and the character's journey. And there is an underlying mystery or mysterious tone, or the tension builds kind of like it's going to be a mystery. Okay. But then it does not resolve like a traditional mystery would necessarily. And that's okay, because that actually wasn't the point to begin with. So it was like a very creative approach. It's like a kind of contemporary literary fiction mashed up with mystery and character study. And as you were describing that idea, it really kind of feels like one that is just perfect for that concept, for that kind of approach. I could see that. Yeah. I don't know if that's, I've never actually really tried to write like contemporary or literary fiction. I usually just like write genre. So like, I don't know, would you ever like attempt to do like a literary fiction spin on like a genre?
Maybe, but I've got so many decent ideas for my genres that I'm not sure I would ever tip my toe in the waters unless it really, really hit me that was a good story.
Yeah. Oh, another idea. Sorry. Now that I'm just like in this train of thought, the two other books that kind of hit this mark are Picnic at Hanging Rock. Have you ever like heard about this book? There are a couple adaptations of it as well, and there's one on Amazon Prime that's like a mini series, and it's like really excellent. But that one is just this trippy. Takes place in Australia at the turn of not this past century, but the century before, like early 1900s, and it is like, oh man, speculative fiction for sure, but there's a lot of literary conventions going on there.
Okay.
And then I've talked about it before, but The Vet's Daughter by Barbara Comans, that one also feels very literary, but has kind of unexplained magic going on. I think I might actually be like really into this now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I love all of these books, and they're the kind of books that like excite me. Oh, all right. I'm going to have to really like get into that. I am enjoying
We opened a new door
it.
for Jocelyn here.
Yes.
It's now we found a comfort zone for her that she didn't know she had.
Maybe I will give it a shot. Are there any specific, any other like projects in either in mystery or other genres that you tried and they just kind of...
I've got a small handful of them that not in mystery. That was the only one I tried in mystery. That was the first one and the last one for mystery for me.
Learn to listen.
Yeah. I've tried a couple others. Like there's some things that really, I feel like they're good stories, but I don't feel like I'm the person to do them, or I just like, or in the case of like, I had a great idea for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. That wasn't Dungeons and Dragons. It was more science fiction, which actually sounds a lot like what I recommended last time, Darths and Droids.
Yeah.
But
yes,
I had a good idea for something like that. It's science fiction based. I had a whole plot arc that I had an idea that it was a person with a ship. And they were like kind of like a mercenary kind of deal, but they could hire people for a job, so that way you could change players if you didn't want to have players that wanted to keep coming back for repeat missions. But I live in a void of friends like that.
Yeah.
I don't have anyone to play with. So I have this great idea for things, but it's not really something I feel like I could pick up as a story and make it into a story. The good part of it was I did have a long-ranging arc that I could tie everything together. Like, I guess that would be like a story. But the whole draw of it was that you could pick it up and put it back down, but have different people join you, but still be the same story.
Yeah.
I just,
that is a cool idea.
I don't have people like that in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I used to be active in the PBP community, the play by post.
Oh, cool!
And I thought it could do something like that, but then like I don't have time to do that anymore in my life. I have very little free time, and what free time I have, either I spend unwinding or hanging out with my husband, or I spend writing. I don't have time to dedicate kind of frivolous writing in a play by post when I could actually be putting it towards my novel.
Right. Well, maybe in the future when your life takes a different shape.
Possibly. Maybe the kids graduate like from high school. I can have time again.
Over a decade from now. It's fine.
I've got a couple others too. Like I got a kid's book. Not kid, like maybe a young, I would call it young adult, like maybe like
middle grade.
Yeah, like a 10-year-old kind of deal. I've got an idea that came to me that I don't know if I'm the right person to write the story. Yeah.
I'm intimidated by the idea of writing children's literature, because it does seem to the untrained eye like it would be simple. And I'm more talking about like picture books here. But I have learned through my work and through seeing people that I know actually write children's books, like a lot of those people have PhDs in education. And and you have to like understand different educational theories and like how you're interacting with the reader and what kind of literacies you're promoting, what kind of information you're imparting to them, and how that kind of triggers in their brain and helps their development. There's just like so much that goes into it, and not for me.
Yeah,
no.
I recently read a story that I didn't realize it was for like middle schoolers. It was that good. It was The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Have you read it?
No, but I do have it.
You need to read this book. I feel like I keep saying this to you, but
I know.
It was possibly the most perfect book I have ever read.
Everybody loves that book. I've heard the greatest things about it, which is why I bought it.
Yeah. It was actually given to my kids. I have an Amazon list, like future kids library for when they get older.
Yeah.
And I had it on there, and someone bought it for them. I'm like, why did you buy it? They don't know how to read yet.
I know. It's gonna collect dust.
But I was reading it, and it was always something that had vaguely interested me. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna have this book in the house, and my kids will ever pick up it one day and say, "Hey, is this good?" I want to be able to say yes or no, and give them an idea what it's about. So I picked it up, and it was beautifully done, just expertly, beautifully. I'm intimidated to right now done.
Right. Oof.
Like, it was so well done, but I looked on the back and it's for ages 10 plus.
Yep.
And I'm like,
well, plus, you're in the plus.
I am plus. But I mean, like, I'm definitely intimidated by this book. And then discussing with you now this idea I had for basically that same age group. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I have the right amount of whimsy in my writing that it would require.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because at least the story in my head, it was about a pair of twins, fraternal twins, a boy and a girl. Parents are separating. They've got this trauma in their life and they run away. And it's kind of like a Narnia thing. Like, they go to this world and there's a moon tower and a sun tower. And basically the kids get separated and they have like these animal companions. I think the boy had a fox and the girl had an owl. And they end up going to the different towers. And like, I think like the moon was a woman and the sun was a man or something. But it was about opposites. And learning they were apart and then they have to learn to come together. There were some tones I don't think I could fully pull it off. Yeah. I don't think that's where my talent lies.
Yeah.
But it was a good idea.
There's a lot.
But it's outside my comfort zone.
It's a very good idea. It sounds great. I hear, like, I see on Twitter a lot of authors and writers like talking about that exact thing though, where they're like, I don't think I can do this idea. Like, I don't have what it takes to do this. And like, maybe sometimes that's true, but I think a lot of the times though, people are like, no, I think maybe it's a case of like, have you heard, there's a quote about, maybe I've talked about it before and I'm definitely not going to quote it properly, but there's a quote out there and I don't remember who it's from, basically saying like, people of good taste want to create on the same level of their taste and what they see as being good. Like, they can recognize excellent work and genius work. Okay. And so then when they create, they aim for that and they want to create something, pretty spectacular. And then they look at their own work and they're disappointed by it because their taste is like outpacing their work level. But that doesn't mean that what they're working on is bad. It just means their taste, like they're viewing it as bad because they're picky or they have high expectations and that kind of thing. And I wonder if there might be some of that in this too, where it's like, maybe for some instances, it is a case of like, no, you actually could be the right person to do this, but maybe you're intimidated by something like, that book.
That's true.
That really blew you away, So there might be a little bit of that in there too, but I do believe people, like, I trust that people know themselves and they know their ability as well. So, I guess
it could be like, using this story as example, I call Fox Twins, just like the dumb name I call it. I guess it's something like I could grow into as maybe a skill evolves and I get the right tone for it. But
sure,
me right now, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Me in 10 years, we'll have a different talk maybe. But
Yeah, it's nice to just keep it in your back pocket and pull it out every once in a while and reassess.
It's in my list of stories that I think is an excellent idea. It's not in the cards right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of those.
Yeah, I know. I do too. That's how it goes, I think.
Speaking of romance, I have a romance in that pile too.
Ooh, exciting. Do tell.
I don't think it's all that exciting, which is probably why I think it's outside my comfort zone. I had this idea about, it feels fairly predictable, which is maybe it's just a bad idea, which is why I don't want to get into it. But a couple who were together when they were younger, and then split apart, and then the classic, she comes back to the town pulled by some other version, and he's there, and then they have to remember what they liked about each other and then discover who the new person is.
Yeah.
Very classic tale of people.
Yeah, and rooted in like real life struggles and well, I was gonna this is like my strange brain working, my tired brain right now. I was gonna say and life best practices. Because you should, like, I was thinking like, you need to like learn who the new person is. We all as we age and grow and learn, we become kind of different versions of ourselves. So I'm like, it's best practices to just learn the new person. Oh, my brain. Oh, I'm on such work brain.
It sounds it sounds perfectly rational.
Yeah, there are best practices to life to be a good, kind person.
I mean, it's true. You do have to reevaluate people you've known for a long time, but
yes.
I feel like I don't feel like it had much of a draw, and I've stopped reading romance because it was bad for my relationship with my husband.
Yeah.
It's just, I'd be reading this romance and I'd be looking at him like, why do you do this? I mean, completely irrational, but it was bad for my relationship that I would start to resent him for something somebody in a book did, which was probably someone's ideal of something, and nobody can do it. But I had to stop reading romances for that reason.
Yeah.
I was never really into them to begin with, but I did like my historical romances. They were a fluff when I needed a fluff.
Yes, I like historical romance. I like pretty much all romances, but historical romances definitely are very fun for me, which actually brings me to like one of my major discomfort zones. Zone I am not comfortable with is historical fiction, actually. The one specific project that I've brought to talk about, when I was in undergrad, I was sitting in like a history class, and I think it was like World Civilizations 1 or something like that. And it was a hard class, like surprisingly difficult. I wasn't expecting it to be as hard as it was. I was really good at history when I was in high school, so I was expecting this to be like fun and not too challenging for me, but it like absolutely kicked my butt, and I did not take whatever, like World Civilizations 2 or whatever. I just I started and I dropped it. I was like, I can't do this. But I remember sitting in class, and when my professor was talking about it's like Salon of Nine, and it's this government structure that existed in Siena, Italy in the 14th century, which is funny that I keep like talking about this is like the third episode I've talked about the 14th century, like Europe. But yeah, it was like right around like Black Death time. And now of course, like I can't actually remember the big thing that we talked about in class, but it was so intriguing. So there was a lot of political intrigue and unrest that happened like everywhere, but especially in Italy at the time, because it was just a bunch of city-states. And Siena had some like spectacular scandal, and it was basically like the Ocean's 11 of political scandal and intrigue, and there was like all of these moving parts and like absolute nonsense and drama happening. And I really wish, I should actually probably go down like a Wikipedia hole if I can figure it out. I wish I could remember the actual events. I feel like it must have been like some kind of coup or
I remember
overthrow.
This. In college, I went to a trip to Italy. We went to Siena, and I remember the tour guide talking something about that. Mm-hmm. But I was 21 and I was not listening.
Right. I was like 19 and I was like, I'm dropping this class anyway. But it intrigued me so much because I remember, and at the time I was thinking about it in terms of a film script, like a screenplay, because that's what I was in school for. And so I sat down, I remember sitting down and being like, all right, let's like map this out. Let's get started on this idea. And immediately was in over my head because historical fiction
is no
requires,
joke.
Yeah. It requires a lot of research. And I mean, as the writer, as the author, you can, of course, decide how faithful you want to be to the actual source material and the thing that actually happened or the time period. But I really wanted to be faithful to this idea because it was already bonkers enough. So I like really wanted to get a good understanding of it. And it was one of those things I just couldn't grasp. Like I couldn't get a handle on. I think if I approached historical fiction from a simpler perspective, like, I mean, and I believe I have mentioned on this podcast my early work of Don't Die on Me, which was set during the American Revolution. My wonderful, tragic romance of two teens holding each other in their arms as they died.
You have not mentioned this.
Oh my God, what? I haven't
mentioned this.
Oh my Lord. I wrote it, I was like in 7th grade, and it was like both small...
I think you touched on it, and that's it.
It had all of the great stuff in it. Small town life in pre-revolution America, the American Revolution, teenage love, pulled apart because the boy, Nathaniel, I think I named him, or something like that, had to go fight for, you know...
It sounded very The Patriot.
Oh, yeah. No, it basically is Patriot fan fiction. I was like obsessed with The Patriot. Yeah, no, 100%. Anyway, like there's a skirmish near their hometown. He gets shot. He gets dragged back into town, and his love interest nurses him until he dies. That's the story.
Wow.
And I made it super dramatic.
I'm just picturing
like,
Heath Ledger now.
Oh yeah, right. As one would want to. But yeah, that was easy because it didn't matter. Like the historical details didn't matter. It just took place in like this little town, and I had read enough like American Girl books to know like what it could have been like. We went to like a one-room schoolhouse, so I had an idea. But on a grander scale, I love reading historical fiction. And I think part of it is because I do really admire the people that do it well. There's so much work that goes into it. There's so much like respect for history and things that happened, you know, events and being true to that, or there's so much creativity in subverting that or playing around with that. And I just don't think I have the skill or the patience and like, you know, there's a lot doggedness to continue with it. There's a lot of
pressure with historical fiction too. Like you have to get it right because there are untold numbers of scholars who will tell you when you get it wrong.
Yes. True. Like real scholars and then, you know, people who think they're scholars.
Yeah.
Either way, the criticism sucks. Either way.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. I imagine.
Yeah.
I think in all the historical fiction I read, there's a lot of like acknowledgments, like, and this person at this university really helped with this part, and this person at that university really helped with that part.
Yep. And I don't think I have the time, as much as I enjoy doing research, and that is a, you know, big part of my career, I don't really have the time or ability to do that, you know, on the side for my, you know, creative pursuits.
You'd rather write about Finger Lakes.
Oh, yeah. Lived experience all the way.
Something else I've tried and I wouldn't say failed at because I haven't gotten as far as failed, but I decided that it wasn't for me, was a graphic novel.
Oh, yeah. No, that's completely out of my wheelhouse.
I used to. I actually went to college on an art scholarship, but
oh wow,
in the time since, I have lost it.
Yeah,
like
it is one of those skills you have to practice.
Yeah, like I haven't drawn anything in more than a decade. Mm-hmm. So then trying to do a graphic novel, because I had this great story idea, but I thought it would really be pulled off best graphically. But it just, I have sketchbooks of me trying and being like, nope, this is dumb. And even like when I was drawing a lot and did get my scholarship, and I did some, not to toot my own horn, but I was pretty darn good at it. I wasn't drawing comic style, so that was completely out of my comfort zone on another level. Yes. So I basically figured that either I would have to collaborate with somebody else, which I don't necessarily mind doing, but I didn't know anybody. I still don't know anybody. Or just give it up, and I've given it up.
Yeah. My brother actually does a graphic novel. Like that's what he enjoys working in, and he's great at it. And that was like his thesis in undergrad, was like a kind of a proof of concept for a graphic novel, and it's great.
That's awesome.
It's really wonderful. Yeah.
I have a story idea if he wants a story idea.
I don't actually know how much he's like working on his and I know he's working on his art still, but I don't know about like graphic novel stuff, because, you know, he's out in the world. He's got a real job and like doing whatever. And the man's grinding him down, and you know how it goes. It takes a while to like get back to your creative pursuits after you find stability in the workplace and whatnot.
That is a hard transition.
It's very difficult. Very difficult.
I know a lot of people stumble on that.
Very much so. Yeah. It's probably one of the worst times of my life. Then you go back on that particular moment in my life. It's hard.
That was actually probably one of my most creative times of my life, that period of transition, because I got a really boring job that didn't require a lot of me. So I spent a lot of my work hours and got reprimanded for it, writing.
Oh, yeah. I had that happen later. Yeah, the transition period for me was working 3 part-time jobs that were absolutely exhausting. And I worked like well over 14 hours every day for like minimum wage jobs. It was very painful. I was a very unhappy person.
I am sorry for your past self.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to have been able to leave that behind. And then I did get to work that boring job where I would write on the side, and definitely got in trouble for it. And so I had that too. But it's hard. You know, if anyone is going through that right now, if you're like fresh out of college and you're trying to land on your feet, like definitely give yourself some grace. Don't feel bad if all you're focusing on right now is survival and like making enough money to pay rent and buy food and find some kind of stability, because you will eventually get there, and then you will be able to protect that time for your creative pursuits again, or whatever it is that gives you joy. Like if you're not a creative person, but you find joy in other areas, like you will be able to get there again eventually.
Yes. Just be kind to yourself right now.
Be kind. Yeah. But it is interesting that you brought up format as like a comfort zone situation, because I have had that happen a couple times where for 2 different story ideas that I'm still working on, I tried multiple formats trying to figure out how to tell those stories, like what format would work best. And for me, it was either like screenwriting or prose, or like, oh, maybe I'll make this a short story, or one was like, oh, maybe I will turn this into like a multimedia experience. And like, I was trying to figure out like what format would honor the story best. And for, well, at this point, I don't write screenplays anymore. I don't write scripts anymore. It's not something that I'm interested in doing anymore. There's no like, I will write it and then it will just sit there. They're never going to get made. I'm not interested in trying to get anything made. I can't stand production. I just, ugh. So, and honestly, I like writing
scares
prose.
Me.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It sucks, but it's dumb.
Just thinking of the idea, like, if I hope to get published one day and then what if somebody tries to buy it and they make it into a movie and they have to like rewrite it? Like that aspect scares just scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, does it scare you at like the prospect of you having to adapt it into a screenplay format, or someone else?
Because I have never written a screenplay. It scares me that someone would butcher my work.
Yeah, well, both happen. There are some authors that have never written screenplays before that do write the adaptations, like do get asked.
Wow.
But then more commonly is the other one,
right?
Where
somebody else is hired. Yeah.
Yeah, you have no control whatsoever.
I've kind of decided that, and this is a very, very, I haven't even published anything yet, and who says even if I did, they would want to make a movie of it, but I have come to the internal decision that I will just say no.
Interesting. Very interesting. What if they throw a truckload of money at you?
I haven't crossed that question yet. I don't know.
There might be an amount that would,
Is there an amount of money that would take something that I toiled years over and then just have somebody just tear apart and put things in
the question.
Out of order? I don't know if is there such an amount of money? Something that I really cared about?
I think a lot of creators that are put in this position, obviously that's important to them. That's something that's very important.
But yeah, feeding your family is another important issue.
Yeah, it all depends on where you're at in life and who is pitching this to you. If you like what you're hearing, if you trust the company, if you trust the creatives on the other end, then maybe it's a perfect match. Maybe it'll work out really nicely.
Sucks for them. I hate salesmen. I have such a thing against salesmen.
Oh, it just makes you want to throw up, right? Like as soon as one of them tries to turn the charm on or whatever, and you're like, this doesn't work.
Right.
Stop.
I am not that person. Stop trying to sell that to me.
Yeah, I'm not swayed. I am not swayed by this. I'm with you. I absolutely hate that. But I have heard stories before where folks have been like, I never thought I would agree to an adaptation. I'm very protective of this property. And then the right person came along at the right time and had the right things to say and gave me the right vibes. And then we created something great together. But I think a lot of the time, that's the
exception.
It is the exception. It's definitely not common. It's more common that it's just taken away from you and you have no control, and then you just have to cross your fingers and hope for the best.
And that's something that I haven't looked into, but is that my right as an author, or if I sell the book to a publishing house, is that the publishing house decision?
Oh yeah.
I haven't gotten to the I haven't finished the novel yet, so I haven't had to approach that decision whether to self-publish or try to go actual publish.
I think it's you. You own the copyright.
Do I though?
I think so.
I don't know.
I would imagine so.
That's something I need to figure. Something I need to do research on.
Yeah, I always everything that I see other folks talk about who go through this process, and on Twitter or when I read interviews, and everything that I or at least thought I knew, but being a librarian is you have, they're your rights. You have the rights, or you have the ability to negotiate in some way, and I guess it does depend on your particular deal.
Right. Yeah. It's just,
so you would have to think about that.
That is another level of scary.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, that's why you have agents and managers and stuff to help you. At least that's why, in theory, they're there. But some folks do it without them, Some folks are savvy. This definitely went.
Yeah, this has gone sideways.
Although it is about comfort zones and publishing.
And that is far outside my comfort zone right now. Yeah. Both aspects of the whole publishing thing are outside my comfort zone.
Oh, I know.
Self-publishing sounds so scary.
Oh, I know.
You just
so much work.
Yeah, there's you have to, but at the same time, I've read a lot of stories where even if you do get picked up by a publishing house, you still have to do all the marketing, everything on your own.
Yeah.
unless
it becomes a full-time job.
The 0.5% chance of being a breakout artist, they won't do anything for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the only thing they're covering is the cost of print.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which that's a whole other. Well, we can definitely talk about publishing.
we should add that for another episode, because I feel like I have a lot of stuff to say about that, or a lot of questions to ask about that. I don't know if I have any just concrete answers. It's a whole big question mark in my mind.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it much because I'm not really seriously thinking about publishing, because I'm still just trying to get words down, period.
Well,
so
that is part of that is a step to my ultimate goal of having someone love my story enough to write fan fiction about it. It has to be published.
Yeah.
Someone has to be out there. It has to be out there for someone to read
Someone has to see it.
My ultimate goal isn't to get paid. My ultimate goal, but it probably should be, but my ultimate goal is to have somebody love it enough to write their own story.
Oh, I love that though. It's just so like magical and beautiful. I think it's beautiful.
I just want somebody to love it.
Yeah.
That probably says oodles about my personality.
Love me, love my work. Yay. Yeah, no, I feel that.
Oh my goodness. The sky outside my window is just lighting up. I just see like black tree and white behind it. I think it might be far enough away. It's not rumbling anymore.
Oh, I miss these long, drawn-out summer storms. We do not get them in Pittsburgh. Not like this. Not the same way. And I miss them so much. Well, do you have any other comfort zone thoughts? Any other zones you won't go? No-go zones?
Zones I would never go to. I don't know. Mystery, definitely number one, will never do it. I can't say graphic novel, I would never do it. Just, I don't think I can do the drawing part, so I would have to have a partner. I've come to realize that about myself. I don't think so. Well, maybe comedy. I'm not really a comedic person.
Okay.
I don't really have I don't have that talent. If I'm funny, I'm usually funny on accident.
Yes, the circumstantial humor.
Yeah, it's usually I say something in complete seriousness, and then it's hilarious to everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm that weird person. I don't know. I like to say I don't have a lot of humor. Just I don't get a lot of jokes.
Well, you're kind of like the straight man, and the straight man is important to comedy because you do it'll play off of things and become comedic without actually meaning it to be. So it's very valuable.
That would be definitely who I am. I just comedy probably. I don't think I could go comedy, and I probably couldn't go romance just because I don't know. I would probably be writing it and then look at my husband and be weird I'm pretending you're doing something else or something. I don't know. I don't know. I would feel awkward about that.
Yeah. I think a no-go zone for me would probably be I don't know, satire, because that's just a different level of, well, my impression of satire is that it takes a great wit, someone who is really smart and worldly, or at least just understands the way the world works on a level that I don't think that I have. I do think that I can be funny, and I do like to write comedy, but satire is not. Everybody conflates the two. Satire is not always funny.
No, definitely not.
It's just it's such a unique and specific thing, and I would never want to touch it. Yeah, ever.
I feel a lot of satire that I've read, not that I've read a lot of it, but I feel a lot of it is allegorical, and that's a whole nother level of planning that I just want to have fun with it, and I don't feel I would have fun doing that.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. That is kind of really what it comes down to. We're here for fun. We're here to party.
Yeah. It's the same reason that I read. I read to escape. I write almost to escape too, because I'm writing a story I want to read. Yeah. Actually, you know what? It's really funny sometimes. Like, I just finished a book, and before I started the one I'm reading right now, I was like, I want to read a book. Damn it, I want to read the book I'm writing. I want it to be finished so I can read it.
I know. Oh, yes, I know that feeling.
It's like, that's what I want to read. Like, I'm looking for my next book, and it's not, I can't because I haven't finished it. How stupid and self-centered is that? But
I think a lot of authors would say they felt similarly.
Yeah, I'm writing what I want to read, and I'm literally want to read that right now. That's what I want to read.
Yeah.
So
you're craving
sometimes what I do is I take out my iPad and I'll just read what I've written.
Yeah.
Just to get the hit of.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so fun.
How about a recommendation? I feel like this has been a very downer episode. Like, things we can't do, things we don't like. Let's give them something we do
Annoying
like.
Domestic issues.
Yes. Let's end on a happy note of things we like.
Wonderful. Would you like me to present mine?
Yes, because I've accidentally mentioned mine in the middle, and now I have to think of something else.
All right. I recently read The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix, which, let me just check the publication date on this, because I read an ARC copy, and so I can't remember when it actually comes out. Oh, okay. So publication is July 13th. So
it's coming out soon.
Yeah, coming out soon. I don't know when this episode will be posted, so it very well might be out now. So go check it out.
What did you say the date was? When is it coming out?
July 13th.
No, this will be out before July 13th. This is coming out the first week of July. This is coming out.
Put it on that pre-order
next
list. Week. Perfect. Okay. So pre-order this because it's super fun. If folks haven't heard of Grady Hendrix, he wrote, I think his book that came out last year kind of made a splash, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. He writes horror comedy, but his horror is very horror. Like, it's gory, it's scary, it's horror, but it's also injected with a lot of humor and just fun atmosphere, great characters. He writes women characters really, really well. Ooh. Actually, I think all of his main characters are women in all of his books. He's just really good at it. Like, I love all of his characters. But the Final Girls Support Group has kind of a fun concept. It's really like a love letter to classic slashers, which I enjoy slashers, but this takes place in like the real world, like our world. And in this world, there's a group of women who have been deemed final girls. They have been the sole survivors of attacks, and they get together to have this like secret support group once a month and go through their trauma. And they've been doing this for like 20 some years or something like that. Uh-huh. And now all of a sudden something starts happening, and these women are being attacked again and dying and like being hunted. And we follow one in particular, like there's one that's the main character, and she's like very, what is the phrase when you're hypervigilant? She's very hypervigilant, and she takes a lot of precautions. Like, some would call her paranoid. And so she is like prepped for this. And so we follow her as she tries to get to the bottom of what's going on and what seems like an orchestrated attack against her and the other final girls. And so it's really fun because, the characters are super fun. And like I said, like there's a decent amount of humor in all of Grady Hendrix's work. But throughout the Final Girl Support Group, he injects like little nods to classic slashers, and each final girl in this book is actually supposed to be the inspiration for a final girl in one of these slashers. So like one of them is supposed to be Laurie from Halloween. One of them is supposed to be Nancy from Freddy, the Nightmare on Elm Street. Uh-huh. That's what it's called. One of them is the final girl from the original Friday the 13th. And, so there's a couple other ones. I just can't remember who everybody is at this point. But I think like Texas Chainsaw Massacre's in there too. So like he goes through and injects these little like, I don't know, I'll call them like found documents that are from each woman's past about her initial case, her initial like attack, the thing that she survived, and then everything that's happened to her since, and then the movie franchises that came out and how that changed their lives. And like, it's just like kind of really smart. And like, there's been a lot of stuff done with Final Girls, but if you like Final Girls, I really like Final Girls. I know there's like a lot of conversation about them if you're in the horror community, and there's a lot of interesting scholarship about Final Girls as well. But if you like Final Girls, this book is definitely just like a love letter to Final Girls and slashers, and I had a really good time reading it. So if you want a fun horror comedy kind of fast-paced adventure read for your summer, I definitely recommend The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix.
Sounds like an awesome recommendation.
It's awesome for the right person, you know, like it's definitely not everybody's bag, but there are people out there who would love this book. I know for a fact. I am one of them.
All right, my recommendation is T. Kingfisher's The Twisted Ones.
Oof, I love this book.
Know.
Yes.
It is kind of outside my comfort zone to read. Like, I read some horror, but I don't read a lot of it. But this book got under my skin. First of all, I love Ursula. I can't remember her actual real last name. Do you remember it?
Vernon?
Maybe it's Ursula like Vernon.
Yeah.
T. Kingfisher is her pen name for adult fiction. She writes children's books mainly, I believe, young adult books. Yeah. Anyways, she's fantastic. I love basically everything she does. I kind of want to meet her in real life, but then I'm also kind of scared that I actually would like her as a person, and my esteem for her work would go down. But anyways, The Twisted Ones basically effed me up. It's wild. Slow dawning horror kind of, but it's not like someone is there to try to murder you. It's kind of like a fantastical, supernatural fantasy horror. Yes. It deals a lot with the Green Book. Yes. Which has to do was I think it was a story somebody wrote. Somebody famous wrote the story. God, who was it? I can't remember. Jesus, who was it? Somebody famous from like Victorian something times. Anyways, so it's a famous story about the Fae. But it kind of gives them a twisted aspect, like they're not like nice fairies. It's kind of it twists the origin story, the British Fae. But the Twisted One takes place like in Virginia or South Carolina or something like that.
Yeah. I think
somewhere like north south.
Carolina?
North Carolina. It's like north south.
I think so because I remember being like, oh, my dad lives in North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm scared to go there now. Maybe. I don't know. I could be misremembering.
Well, anyways, this woman and her dog travel down. They're from the north, maybe Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area.
Actually, I think it is like Pittsburgh. I think she's from Pittsburgh. Yeah, because that's what it was. I was like, well, I live in Pittsburgh and my dad lives in North Carolina. I'm never visiting him again because he lives in like out in the woods. I'm like, no.
Okay. Well, she and her dog go down because her grandmother has died and she's apparently the last able person able to like close up the estate. Her dad's sick and can't do it. He's doing all the legal stuff, but someone needs to physically go out the house and pack up all the shit because the grandmother was a hoarder.
Ugh. Mm-hmm.
So this woman gets down there and the house is a mess and she finds some weird things. There's rocks with weird faces on them and she finds a journal from her step-grandfather and the journal like kind of infects her mind. There's the phrase, do you remember what the phrase was?
No.
Something I
don't. It's creepy though.
It is creepy. Like they make the faces and then they twist their bodies. It was like a repetitive mantra kind of thing. And
it did have to do with like bodies twisting and faces twisting, like almost like viscerally, like almost like body horror.
Yeah. And it kind of infects her. She just kind of keeps hearing this phrase in her head over and over again. And it's basically about finding a hole in the world, kind of in her backyard almost. And then that hole is this supernatural fae area, but then it's been even more twisted and corrupted than you would realize. And it just turns into this full-on, oh my God, run for your life event.
Yes.
That just kind of everything compounds. And I had a hard time sleeping reading this book. It was kind of the classic Joey putting The Shining in the freezer. Except mine was on my Kindle, and I couldn't do that. It would break.
No, that would be ill-advised. It really is a very scary book, but it also had me like laughing. Like I laughed at so many parts because the main character, and I can't remember her name.
I know, it's been a little while for me.
Yeah, she is funny. Yes. And like the people
the internal
that she
monologue
meets,
is written in first person, and she is a very relatable character.
Yes, very relatable.
And the neighbors are great too. Then she makes friends with the neighbors, and they're kind of like her support line during this crazy time. But they're awesome.
But there's one thing that will never leave my mind from that book, and it's the deers that walk on their hind legs. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Oh my God, the way that is written is so creepy and subtle and so like uncanny valley. Like the way they're lurching around, and like, can you just imagine looking into your backyard and like kind of seeing a shadowy figure and that being it, like a deer on its hind, like, or
it's not just a deer, it's a deer skeleton that's been put together incorrectly. Like the head is upside down.
Yes, it's all a jumble.
And there's like stones in its rib cage that knock together and make this knocking sound.
Oh my God.
It creates a very atmosphere that is just, like I just, it was, I'm lucky I didn't read it during the summertime because I tend to sleep with the windows open in the summertime. I would not have been able to do that, and then I would have suffocated in my house. But yeah, it's very good. It's very well done. It gets under your skin. It scares you, but you also can't put it down at the same time.
Yes.
And the main character is so relatable that at the end, they're like, she returns to Pittsburgh, but she can't get it out of her head, and she's still taking the same precautions, even though she's pretty sure they're gone. But it's like, you can relate to that. Like, just Ursula did a wonderful job writing the story. There is a sequel, which I haven't had the guts to read yet. I do own it. It's on my Kindle.
Me too. Yeah.
I just haven't had the guts to start playing
the Hollow.
What
is
the Hollow
it?
Places.
The Hollow. Yes, the Hollow Places, and it's a new character. It's not.
It's not the same main character.
Mouse is the name of the character in the first book. It's a different character, a different situation, which actually I wonder if that's the one where the main character is like from Pittsburgh. I can't remember.
No, the first, I didn't read the second one, and I know the first one is Pittsburgh.
Okay, cool. Yay, I love Pittsburgh. Anyway, I haven't gotten to it. I actually read the first chapter of it, but then I got busy with other books because I read books for like review and stuff, and I just had to like bounce around. So I really, really want to get back to it.
Yeah. She goes by the pen name T. Kingfisher when she writes this style of books, but she does also fantasy work well. It's under the same name. And I almost recommended another one of her other books, A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking.
Oh my God, that sounds super fun.
I know, that's the reason I picked it up, because I was like, what? That's awesome. And it's about a young wizard, a young girl who has a magical power, but her only magical power is making baked goods come to life.
Oh,
that's the only thing she can do, but somehow it's left up to her to defend a kingdom.
With her alive baked
with
goods.
Like a sourdough starter and gingerbread men.
Oh my Lord. It's a Disney movie.
It's a Disney movie with some very dark overtones. But brilliant writer. I love all of her stuff, but she goes definitely from very lighthearted to the twisted ones, which, like I said, F me up so much I can't pick up the sequel yet.
It is super good though. If folks, if you like the darker end of things, absolutely make it a priority to read that book. It's one of the best books I read last year. I think it was last year. Lord, I'm losing time. In 2019. I read it when it came out in 2019.
I read it.
It was definitely one of the best.
November last year.
Yeah. It is good for, I mean, you should read it in the summer if you really want to get yourself freaked out. Yeah. But it's also a good winter read, I would say.
Ideally, I would say read it in like January, if you're like me.
When you wrap up in a nice cozy blanket, you've got your hot beverage, and
then you don't have to worry about deer carcasses outside your window in the summertime while you're trying to sleep. It's like the atmosphere that she developed was so realistic. Like I was in it.
Yes, 100%. Oh, it's great. I'm so glad you picked it for your recommendation.
All right, let's close this thing up.
Yeehaw.
Okay, so as usual, I will put all of the stuff we talked about in show notes with links. You can catch us on all the social media if you want to follow us. We do post a little bit. Some of them are fun. We've started doing a series of our writing excuses why we're not writing. And some of them are dumb. And some of them are dumber, but they're kind of fun. I haven't done the classic dog ate my work yet. I might.
I actually never had the pleasure of a dog eating my work. I wish I did.
I have had a dog eat notes for a story. Not eat it, but like more like like chew it up and then drool it and pulse in it. Yeah, that definitely happened to me when I was younger. He was a jerk, but I loved him so much.
Yeah, of course. So, that's how it goes.
And that's it for this week. Catch us next Wednesday when we're going to talk about
fan fiction, which I'm very excited because I know how much Deb loves fan fiction.
I love fan fiction.
As she just talked about earlier. But I'm less versed, so this is gonna be great.
Oh man,
you can educate me.
I actually like my fan fiction is kind of like my version of your sense of place. Like I love fan fiction. I've been reading it since I was 19, freshman year in college is when I found my first fan fiction. It was a Labyrinth fan fiction. I don't remember what it was about, but I do remember it was Labyrinth.
That's amazing. What a beautiful entree into the community.
It was probably horrible, but I still read it. I have on my iPad, I don't know, 9 tabs open of Avenger fan fiction, mostly to do with Loki because Loki's my favorite character. It's just,
100%.
I could go on and on about how much I love the character of Loki. Just it's so unpredictable. And now they've come out with this series. I was so happy when they announced a series about my favorite character because you never know what he's gonna do.
Yes. So much material.
And I did say that I don't read a lot of romance, and I definitely don't write romance, but I read Loki romance with Darcy. I am a Darcy Loki shipper. I've never written it, but I love stories with them because they're such a combination of personality. I just really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish it was canon.
That's awesome. Yeah, right. I know. That always is the thing, is people are like, they're doing it better over here.
I know.
The fanfic is better. Hello.
Oh God, we're starting the episode before it's actually time to do the episode.
I know.
We need to go to bed. It's late.
Yes, it's late.
Okay, so until then, stay safe.
Keep reading.
Keep writing.
And go do what you do best, which, again, let us know what you do best. We want to know.
And we promise we will eat chocolate chips on the microphone. Or not chocolate chips, chocolate chip cookies. We will eat chocolate chip cookies on the microphone in front of you. That will happen.
Apologies. Oh, all right, Deb. Have a great night.
You too.
Talk later.
Yup. Bye-bye.
Bye.